Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Dion Lee here with Kristin. This is the first person I've actually had on my show, and I'm excited. I'm so excited. We are going to be talking about a couple things today. So, what we're going to do, we're going to kind of treat this like an interview. I am going to be asking some questions to Kristin, and Kristin's just going to kind of give me her own spill and her life experience with the topics that I'm going to ask her about. Kristin, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. So, if you guys aren't familiar, or if you guys don't know about me already and know what I do, my name is Dion. So I'm better known as Dion the broker. That's what you'll see on my social media, and I am an insurance broker, and I deal with a lot of different things. More of the topics we're going to be talking about today is going to be revolved around life insurance, and that's what most of these questions are going to be revolved around. So, with that being said, Kristin, my first question for you is, how did you learn about life insurance, and who did you learn it from?
I guess my first experience with life insurance was through my mother. She was a financial planner,
Oh, wow.
and never thought much about it till I got married
Okay.
and had kids. And then we realized we needed to protect. I needed to protect my husband. He needed to protect me for the kids. And so back then, we just went to it wasn't like it is now. We just went to one of the companies that we have our insurance with, our car insurance,
Okay.
and got a term policy,
Okay. So,
20-year
for
term
those who
policy.
don't know what term policy is, Kristin, what is a term policy?
Term policy is an insurance policy you have for a certain amount of years. Usually it's to cover the mortgage. So it can be a 15, 20, 30-year term.
Okay,
And then the insurance is over.
perfect. So, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad to know that you're so that you're so informed. You definitely explained that in a way that a lot of people don't think about it. They don't really kind of uh, connect the two, like how you just explained it. Term insurance, being connected with mortgage. So, no, that's awesome. Um, so let me ask you this question to piggyback off that. Do you believe that it's necessary for people to own life insurance policies?
Oh, heck yes. Oh my gosh. There's so many reasons. The main reason we did it was to protect the other person, but I also, when we did our insurance policies, we did more than what our mortgage was for because we thought about we had little kids. Well, who's going to, if my husband had to go to work, we have to hire someone to watch the kids. We needed extra stuff because of the children.
Hmm.
And so we increased it because of that. There's always doesn't have to cover the mortgage. It can be just to cover funeral expenses. It's very rare to have somebody who doesn't need insurance.
I would agree. I would agree. Even the most wealthy still tend to carry policies to protect themselves and their families. So I would definitely agree with you on that.
Oh yeah.
Um, go ahead. Were you going to
I
say
know.
something?
I was gonna say it's just really it's important because even simple things as funerals can make having the money for that can make such a huge difference.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would agree with you. So my next question would be for you. What purposes has life insurance served for you and your family? So you have personal experience with it within your own household, and obviously your mom has a extensive background. How has life insurance served your family?
Um, wow. Okay, that's a good question. I mean, it gives you a peace of mind. It gives you that you don't have to worry about if something happens, especially for women. Women typically are the ones who are not the breadwinners. It's not always the case. But if something happens to my husband, I'm not sitting here going, okay, he's got something, like say, example, something in retirement or something with work. If like work insurance is great, but if my husband decided to leave the job, his work insurance is gone.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
so if someone's getting ready to retire, then you need to look at getting insurance, because once they retire, you don't have anything and you may still have a mortgage. So it gives a big peace of mind. My children have it too, mainly because I'm the one doing Parent Plus student loans. So if something happens to them, I still have to pay it.
Mm,
And plus, it helps them, and the same way it helps me. Our policies have living benefits. So
okay.
basically, um, for me or my husband or my girls, if something happens to them while they have the insurance policy, and it has to be certain things, like heart attack,
Mhm.
stroke, cancer, Lou Gehrig's disease, kidney failure, and there's different ones for different carriers. We can get the money from the policy. We don't have to pay it back. We
Mhm.
have to apply. They give us the policy, a certain amount of money for different conditions, but you get that money. You may get 25%. And if you have $100,000 policy, that's easy math. That's
There you go.
$25,000 you can have towards paying mortgage bills while you're recovering,
Mhm.
especially if it's someone who's a single parent.
Yeah.
That's you've got to have that, because you got to have backup. Now, a single parent usually is a little more paycheck to paycheck, I
Mhm.
would think.
Yeah.
And so, for us, if I had something happen or my husband has something, we don't have to worry about losing the income
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of that. My kids, it protects them. I got a 30-year term, because that way, if they're in their 40s, which sometimes that's when it happens, things
Mhm.
happen, they already have the living benefits. And it's cheap now for kids. You get them
Yes.
young, it's like
Yes.
$20 a month. You don't think about it.
Exactly.
100,000, like for my girls, 100,000 for $20 a month. You can't beat it.
Can't beat it with a stick. So, to
Mhm.
elaborate a little bit on what Christian is speaking about, guys, is living benefits is a special feature that comes with the policies that she has for her and her family, where she's protected as well as her family is protected in the event that they were to develop a critical, chronic, or terminal illness. These are things that, if I could put it in layman's terms, when you know better, you do better, right? So the more informed you are, the better decisions you'll make. And I think that's the number one problem that happens when we're talking about life insurance. I mean, as you can see here, Kristen is a woman who is speaking from experience. She's married, and she is also a mother. So she has experience from two different point of views, and she's actually talking about some things that she's seen that was valuable to her, which is partly the reason why I'm asking these questions, is because I want to be able to have real people talk about what is it that we care about when it comes to these policies. And Kristen, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. That was an amazing answer. And I have another question for you.
I'm sure you do.
Okay, perfect. So, okay. So this is a good one.
Okay.
What experiences do you have or have you seen where a family hasn't properly prepared for death? And what was it that happened? And what were the problems? So you don't have to, if you don't feel comfortable speaking about who it was, I'm fine with that. But if you can give me a situation of that was close to you where you experienced it and you saw firsthand the results of not properly planning. What was your experience with it? What did you see happen?
Um, have lots of little stories.
Hmm.
I've talked to a woman whose husband passed away, and she thought she had the life insurance policy.
Hmm.
The husband decided, he said, you know what, we really don't need it. He stopped paying on it. She didn't know. He passed,
Ooh.
she didn't have anything.
Oh
Yes.
man.
So, unfortunately, that's kind of common. I have talked to people who have put off getting insurance,
Hmm.
and one gentleman ended up having a stroke,
Ooh.
and so he didn't have the coverage, and the other one, the wife passed. She was young too.
Oh wow.
Um, I have talked to a grandmother
Hmm.
whose daughter, who was younger in her 30s, suddenly died, and she was a mother of five.
Hmm.
So the grandmother is now getting the kids.
Oh.
This is a good story with insurance.
Okay.
The grandmother was actually paying the daughter's policy.
Okay.
So the grandmother would get, I honestly can't remember, but I know it was over 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
But 200,000 is a lot. When you're talking 5 kids and you're raising them,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them were young, some of them were older, you're going to have a lot of expenses. And if you
Yeah.
divide that up, it just goes fast.
Yeah.
And I was amazed when she told me that this company also had orphan fund, so that each one of the kids, in addition to the money, would get $900. Or the person, I guess, either the kids or the grandmother would get
Mm-hmm.
$900 a month till they're 18, and then they would get there's orphan scholarships, so they got, because both parents, and it was both parents were gone.
Wow.
Yeah, they got $6,000 a year for 4 years for college per kid.
Wow.
So
So,
something like that is like an absolute no-brainer. So like I said, that was just like wow. There are just it's sad when people don't protect their loved ones. I talked to an older lady, oh geez, 2 weeks ago, and it was about her sister. Her sister's husband said, "Oh, I don't need insurance. I'm not paying somebody else extra money." I think, well, he died, and the wife was left trying to do the bills, and she didn't have enough money. Didn't have enough money to bury him.
mm,
And so now, she's a kid. The kids aren't helping out. They said, "Forget it. You're not always going to have nice kids." So she's struggling, and the sister was going to buy a policy for her sister
mm-hmm.
because they wanted to be able to have coverage.
Mm,
I mean, it's just, you got to protect the family. I mean, you really do. And when you do have an insurance policy, it's important that your family members, especially someone who's gonna, like an executor, who's gonna be taking care of stuff, knows
yes.
about it. They know
Yes.
what company, they know where that policy is, and that's important, because if you don't tell them, I've known it where people didn't know, and they found out through just going through the things after the fact, after they scraped the money for funeral. In the bottom of the pile, there's a policy,
Wow.
and no one knew about it. It's important. People don't want to talk about it, and especially, I think, older than us. Well, older than me. How about that? Not you. You're still
Look,
young.
you don't look like you're a day over 30.
Oh, I got 3 grandkids. Hello, oldest one being 11. So yeah, 11 should be 12 next week.
Oh my
In a couple of weeks.
goodness.
So yeah. So older people don't want to talk about it, and it's important. You got to know what to do, because you don't want to be scrambling, ticked off at that person, and trying to grieve at the same time, and just trying
Mm,
to struggle. I mean, you can use the funeral home will ask you, because I had experience with this, will ask you, do you have an insurance policy, because they will work with the insurance company to get their portion of the policy to cover the funeral, so you don't have to then come up with stuff.
yes. Yes.
And I didn't know about that. I
Mm,
just figured everybody had to at least come up with money. So that was really interesting. So if you got to have the policy, though. You got
yeah.
to walk in there with the policy. They'll call and make sure it's active, and then they will go and they have the whole thing, the insurance company and stuff like that. So that way you don't have to worry about then scrambling to figure out and everything. Or you just say, I got to do the cheapest thing, even though you may want to bury them in a coffin. You got to do cremation, because that is the cheapest one.
Yes. That
It's
is true.
Funerals are expensive, no matter what you
Very. Very.
do. Most of them are gonna cost you, oh, 10,000, minimum $10,000, which sounds like, why? Because you have no idea how much the funeral home charges,
Mm-hmm.
all the different things, every different death certificate you've got to pay for,
Mm-hmm.
all these different taxes. Oh yes, it's very eye opening.
Yes. Yes. So what you guys are hearing here is a person who's had some experience with some different things, and as you grow older, you have more life experiences, and you see how serious these things are. I want to touch on just a couple of things that she was talking about that I know about that are amazing. She brought up a orphan benefit that a company. So there are companies out there that offer all types of benefits. So I love to use analogies with cars when we're talking about this because a lot of people know about cars, right? So imagine if you have a car that is a gas car, but it's hybrid as well. And let's say you never knew how to use let's say there's a switch or don't don't laugh at me, guys, but there's different ways that you can put cars in certain modes that'll be more gas efficient. Let's say you never knew about it, right? Let's say you never knew about it. So guess what? You're burning more gas than you need to, and you never know that you had this at your disposal. Well, guess what? There are companies out there that have special features in their policies that they don't even charge for, that you don't even have to pay extra for, that are strictly for your benefits. That is why. So you have a lot of people that will go out and try to take care of these things independently. They don't want to have somebody help them. They want to just go online and just do it all at their fingertips. And yeah, you do have that ability in this day and age. Everything is almost accessible online. But it is extremely important to have a personal representative who can actually be able to help you. So she brought up a good point. You have people out there who have policies and their loved ones pass away and family members don't know. Well, what happens is when a person passes away and they close that account out, your agent will get an alert that these premiums aren't being paid anymore. Guess what? That agent is going to reach out to that client. And if that client, somebody picks up the phone and says, hey, this person is no longer alive, or if they don't answer the phone, then we as agents are going to start doing some snooping. We're going to look up your beneficiary. We're going to start reaching out to people to find out, hey, what happened? Right? I'm not saying everybody does that, but a good agent will do that. A good agent will do that. This is what you want to have when you're dealing with these kind of things. You want to have a professional who has had an actual conversation with the client, being the deceased person, who can be able to speak on what they wanted to happen. Right? Obviously, the person to have a beneficiary and things of that nature. But if Sheila was the person who I helped with the policy, Sheila wanted to protect Bob. Bob never knew Sheila had a policy. I got Bob's information off the beneficiary list and gave Bob a call. Hey, is everything okay? I've called Sheila's phone. Sheila's phone's disconnected. Sheila just passed away a week ago. Well, guess what? If this policy is active, then she's going to be, well, obviously it's going to be active. I wouldn't have been able to contact them, right? But in this situation, this would be able to be a specific situation that would be able to be resolved and taken care of, having that professional having that professional that works with you personally. These are the type of relationships that are built, and these are the things you have at your disposal. So she brought up some very important things that when a person's looking outside in, they may not think it's as necessary, but believe me, when you actually are going through a situation where you have a loved one who has passed away, you want any and everybody to have empathy for you and your family. You want somebody to take a moment and care. You don't want people to just pass you by and not care. And that's when people like these, the professionals that you are working with, are the ones who are going to step up and help you and your family in these times. So, Kristin, you have been bringing up some really key points with some of the things that you've been saying, and I hope that this episode, this is episode 3, by the way. I hope this episode is extremely helpful for those out there who are young or old, in between, whatever you want to call it, that have never thought about this, to actually consider this. Kristin also brought up, she has children that are in school who she's helping. You said you signed for the
Well, I did the Parent Plus. They got their own loans, but
okay.
I had to pay the larger portion in the Parent Plus loan, and I'm still paying. I'll be paying on it for probably 10 years. Yay! And when you got 2 girls, that's a lot of money. And so if something happens to them,
mm-hmm.
it's in my name, so I still have to pay for it. It doesn't matter if the person who I got the loan for is no longer here. It's just nuts. It's the same way if you have, the mortgages. You're both in husband and wife name. You still got to pay it.
Exactly.
And it's just, and like I said, anybody who is a single parent, whether mom or dad, You've got to do that. And even people who are business owners, and say you have a smaller business and you pretty much are the one that does the brunt of the work. Well, if you get sick or you get in a car accident and you hurt yourself, and now you got to find someone to work, or you're going to have to close it because no one's there. That's the type of thing that you, if you qualify for, you'll be able to pull that money out to pay that time. Exactly. And everything. So it's kind of nuts not to have some insurance. I know people think, oh, it's expensive. And sometimes it's more than you thought it might be, but with good agents, they're able to look at doing different things. They may change the amount of that you thought you wanted, and you may not need as much, but let's look at this because it's better to have some than nothing at all.
There you go.
Get you through a certain amount of time period. You may not be able to pay the whole mortgage amount in a insurance policy. You can't afford it. But if you know that for a year or two, you're going to want to live here, well, let's look at how much those premiums are. Let's add them up. And then that's the insurance you can look at. And that's much more affordable. That way you can sell the house and you don't lose all the money you put into it.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, there's so many different reasons for it. There's very few not to. I mean, you have to be really wealthy to not have to do it. Like I said, even if you have work ones, I have my husband's work. I have a final expense policy, but he leaves. That's out the door.
Yeah.
So I had to get myself one, because I didn't want to have to worry about it. And everything. And even if you have money, the nice thing about it is sometimes you can pay a smaller amount, and you're not having to pull it out of your 401k. For those who have it, your savings account for the other ones. You're not having to do it. It's this money you've been putting a little bit aside, and then you may, I got new term policy because when I got mine, it was eons ago before there was cell phones or internet, okay? Yes, I remember. I think I may have had a bad cell phone. But, at the time it ended. So it ended. Well, I decided not to take part of that insurance and turn it into something I could keep my entire life. I just redid a term one. It's important. Yeah. There was a time before internet, darling.
Oh, my goodness.
About it.
Oh, my goodness. So, guys, what she's referring to is, on a lot of companies, they will give you the option that if you have a term policy, once you reach the end of that term policy, some companies will allow you to turn that into a permanent policy. And that's what she's referring to when she was just talking about what she was referring to as an option. But some people prefer to just stay with term, because term, you can get a lot more of a face amount. Coverage. So face amount is the coverage, and so you can get a larger amount for a cheaper price going with term as opposed to with whole life. So a lot of people like to go with term. I don't think either is a bad choice, but I'm a big fan of term, because in my current age and situation, I need the most amount of coverage at this point in time, as opposed to some people tend to gravitate towards whole life as they get older, because to be honest with you, after a certain amount of time, they won't offer you term anymore. So what she's referring to is something that's very important. What people, as you get older, you'll understand every little thing that she's saying. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. I dealt with that myself. So you can get ahead. Go ahead.
Don't forget whole life. It means your whole life.
Yes.
Your entire life. That's what it means.
There you go.
You can get it till they age you up till 100. God bless you. We all get to be that age.
Yeah, that'd be a blessing. So, Kristin, it has been wonderful speaking with you. You have definitely brought up a lot of very key, important topics and points that would help the regular person who has never considered it to really give it a second thought. And I truly appreciate you taking your time with me today to kind of go over your experience with it and your thoughts. I truly do appreciate it. I think your insight as a wife and your insight as a mother is also helpful outside of just being an individual with your own mind, right? You understand in general that it's important to protect those that you love. So with those things being said, is there any last thoughts or advice that you would want to leave or share with the audience about your experience, or for people who may be on the fence about getting life insurance? Is there any last thoughts or advice that you want to give to these people?
Um, really look at it. Don't just, like you said, don't just go on the internet and do that. Find some representative. And this is what my mother used to say. She wanted to represent a lot of different companies, because if you go to someone who just has, I'm not going to name names, but just like one type of insurance for life insurance, that's it. Where you might be able to get something that's cheaper or more coverage, and things like that. So it's better to shop around and get a good agent that's going to explain everything to you and look at all the stuff that you can do with that insurance. And it's, don't let it scare you, but make it a priority. It really is. I've seen too many people who choose not to do it and regret it so much later on. Especially in this day and age of COVID, they'll say, "Oh, they're cutting back at work. I can't do it." Well, guess what? You never know when something's going to happen. You never know. You never know when all of a sudden, like myself, you get a health diagnosis out of the blue. And, it's happened with me and in my family. And then that's where you can pull the insurance and cover yourself. Or you end up passing. You just never know. And so it's better to keep the insurance. And, if you've got to pare it down a little bit, okay, pare it down, but keep the insurance, because, life's fun. Karma's fun,
To say the least. To say the least.
Life's a bitty, and it'll make some challenges for you. And it's better to be safe than sorry and protect your loved ones.
Man, listen, I have a saying that I go by. If my wife was here, she'd say it with me. I'd rather need it and not have it than to have it and not need it. I literally live by that. It
makes you think.
It does. I've been like that for a long time, just because I learned, like, there's nothing worse than being in a situation. It's like when you run out of the house and you don't have your wallet and you need gas, and you're like, oh my God, I left my wallet in the house. And then you remember you got the emergency credit card in the car, and you're like, yeah. I'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? So
yeah, exactly. So it's just, you look at your life, and a good insurance agent will help you to figure it out. I mean, that's the God's honest truth. And they'll educate you. And if you don't get one that educates you and helps you out, then you need to go look for one that does. There you go. Hey, he's there. And age of virtual, look at that. Woohoo! He can be right there in your house.
Definitely. So, look, guys, thank you for those who have tuned in. Kristin, thank you again for taking your time with me today to speak and to kind of share your experiences. I will do more of these in the future. So, just to let you guys know, Kristin is not a client of mine. Kristin is someone that I do know, but she is not a client, and she is not an insurance agent. So, I just want to give you guys a heads up. This is a real person. This isn't a robot.
Yes.
Look, you see that? You see that baby stuff back there? That's her grandbaby stuff. This is real life, guys.
I'm going to come flying in here any minute.
Well, thank you again, Kristin. I truly appreciate you. For anybody who has questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I will post things in the description once this posts, where you'll be able to pull up on social media and find me. If you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Besides that, thank you guys again for tuning in, and peace.